Hi, Doc Marshall here. Today I want to talk a little bit about unity. It's a term that's being bantered about quite a bit lately, and I think there's some differing definitions of the word unity. To some, it's the classic dictionary definition that everybody coming together for a common cause and finding the best solution to work together towards fulfilling that cause. Um, Others tend to think that unity is conformity, that we must conform to the narrative in power in order to have unity. And other people think unity is to persecute one half of the voting population and eliminate them from polite society. These are all things that are being talked about. I have a different definition of unity. It's definitely closer to the dictionary definition, but like to look at it from more of a human perspective. First of all, we're all human beings, and we have aligned interests by that fact. The second is, in the context of our discussion, we're all Americans, and we know what America looks like. We know what a happy America looks like, and we know today that we're not there. Um, but when I talk about unity, it necessarily means that I have to speak some very hard truths. And I would be naive to think that wouldn't ruffle some feathers. But the discussion is an important one because we've got to make sure that um, our thinking is at least aligned to the point where we recognize that our ideologies are fairly consistent up to a point. And I say those are our core beliefs. But we operate too often in the fringes to where we're talking about, um, items that impact only one part of the population or items that are do not have a huge impact on the society as a whole. Um, but our core beliefs are really what defines us as Americans in my mind. And I think a good way to illustrate that is to pose some questions of each of us, regardless of who we voted for. Did you vote for a tax increase? Did you vote for higher gasoline prices? Did you vote for higher food prices? Basically, did you vote for higher prices? Because the economic reality of some of the things that are happening right now are going to drive cost increase for us all. It's just fact. And I would encourage you to do the research on this point. Did you vote to have a country without borders? Did you vote to allow undocumented people to come into our country and get stimulus benefits or health insurance or unemployment? Do we really want our tax dollars going to people that we can't even track efficiently? Did you vote to have your liberties curtailed? Did you vote for job creation or job elimination? Did you vote for the party that you thought was going to leave your 401k or other investments as healthy as possible? Did you vote for more wars or less global conflict? More importantly, did you vote thinking that it would be great to have more indefinite lockdowns due to COVID? There's so much conflicting information right now about COVID. Um, I probably could do at least a 30-minute video on COVID alone. But did you, as I said, did you vote you have your liberties curtailed? More specifically, did you vote to have free speech suppressed because it's not the right speech? Did you vote? Did you really vote to demonize half of the voting public? Did any of us? I don't think anybody saw that coming, except a few. Did you vote so that we could change the way we use energy resources? Now, I understand it's important to some to be aware and fight for the climate, and there's some very deeply held beliefs around there. But did you vote to change your entire way of living in order to achieve that? For instance, did you vote to retrofit your house and your cars to meet the new forms of renewable energy that, as of this video, are wholly insufficient to do that across the United States? Did you vote realizing some of the sacrifices that would have to be made to reach some of the goals being set by our political leaders? My guess is that most Americans would not knowingly vote for many or most of these things. But it's what we got. So we got to live with it. But as our liberties become more and more curtailed, each and every one of us has got to ask ourselves, what are we prepared to do about it? Are we going to stand up and say enough is enough? Again, I am not condoning any sort of violent reaction. I'm simply saying, are you going to watch as people are dragged away, for instance, for their political views? That may sound really far-fetched to some of you, but this is what people are suggesting happen. Not just idly by, and not just John Q. Public. These are our politicians. These are our public officials that want to see these things happen. So one last bit of perspective before I close. Let's see, the population of our government and those that work for our government, meaning our politicians and government employees, let's just say, roughly speaking, that makes up 3 million Americans. I mean, this is a bit of a guess on my part, but I figure Washington, D.C. has a population of 70,000 inside that government limits, and then you have the surrounding area. I think 3 million is probably a good rough estimate. And then let's take all of the state governments throughout the land. I figure that's another million. And then let's count how many white supremacists we have in our country. This seems to be a hot button issue on the heels of January 6th that intends to paint all of Trump supporters as white supremacists. And millions of Trump supporters are not even white. So I hope and trust that most people would take that with a grain of salt. But anyway, let's say that there's 1 million in the country. I would guess there's significantly less than that. But let's say there's 1 million people. Antifa, we'll call that another 1 million. Black Lives Matter, not the slogan, but the organization that is self-proclaimed Marxist. We'll call them and their supporters another million people. I think that rough math adds up to 7 million people out of a country of 350 million. So 2% of the population against 98% of we the people are determining our future. As we speak, as we sit, this is not your grandfather's transition to a new administration. This is revolutionary change in a moment in time that is being thrust upon us. And I'm happy for you to research that and see if you can edify that as true, or in your own mind come to some basis of understanding of what you feel about the direction of our country. Educate yourself. Don't be shy about it. Prepare yourself what's coming. And thank you for visiting, and I hope to see you again soon.